We are out on the road, cruising around in a 2022 Ram 2500. The first thing I've noticed is that immediately we are the tallest thing on the road besides semi-trucks.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, the first thing I noticed is how sweet this thing sounds.
This customer approached us wanting to turn his Ram 2500 into the biggest, baddest, and meanest Ram on the road, and we knew exactly what to do. So let's take this truck for a spin and tell you all about it. Let's dive into some of the suspension that we did on this truck, because that's kind of the biggest portion of this build, was just building this truck up in order to put 40's underneath it.
Yeah, being on like the Bilstein shocks that AEV is using, they kind of developed that shock specifically with Bilstein for these trucks. So the ride quality is really dialed with these kits. They do a bunch of geometry correction stuff, get you the proper spring rate. So everything's dialed when you get the AEV kits. And that's a big reason why we like them, is there's just a ton of engineering and design work that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the build breakdown that we're going to go through in a little bit, this is basically an AEV prospector.
Yeah,
there was a lot of suspension relocation involved in this, and there was some cutting and chopping. Cab mount chop.
Yeah, you're basically cutting into the cab of the truck. That's kind of all involved in fitting these fender flares, kind of pushing them back. Yeah, because not only are they going higher, they're also going out kind of wider, further to fit these 40's.
But again, that's all part of the AEV kit. This was all professionally designed by AEV. There was a whole instruction manual. This is something that's been very fine-tuned. It's something I wouldn't do myself unless I was a tech, but it was pretty streamlined because AEV has such a good layout.
Yeah, definitely the most invasive part of this build is cutting for those high mark fenders. They provide you a nice template and everything to sketch out, but once that body saw starts cutting, there's really no going back.
Yeah,
so.
It's beautiful. You definitely feel a position of power when you're riding in this. It's
but with great power, Sam, comes great responsibility.
Yes, you are, and that's why Joe is driving it, not I. We had a bone stock Ram behind us that was actually following us for a little while, and it looked like a Tacoma.
Yeah, it looked like a mid-sized truck.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. Looking in the engine bay, there were some fancy colored items in there. And items. Not sure exactly what I'm looking at because I'm not a diesel guy.
We're not diesel guys, no.
But I can tell you it's pretty impressive what's under there. And also out back there are some giant fuel filters. And if you're running fuel filters that big,
you've got some work
You're
done.
Filtering a lot of gas. So
yeah.
That gas has got to go or diesel. You're filtering a lot of diesel, so that diesel's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's being combusted into power.
America.
Yeah, America.
So now that we're up in the air on 40's, what are we rocking underneath? We've got Toyo's Open Country MTs and 40's, which is one of the bigger tires you can get for the street. We've also got 20-inch Method MR305s, which I think look great on this truck.
I love how this model Method wheel looks on this truck. You would think like 20, that's a pretty big rim.
Yeah, I would normally stay away from 20's.
But when you're on 40's, I think it looks proper.
Yeah, it is the right amount of sidewall to fit these wheels. We're not stretching in any way. We also don't have really any poke with these high mark fender flares, which I think looks great.
Yeah, with the fenders, the wheel and tire package is pretty much right flush with the fenders, which is what you want. When you have a new truck like this, you don't want a bunch of poke, because at the end of the day, you're just going to be throwing mud and gravel up into the side of the paint. Another thing I noticed when driving this around is the steering feels amazing. We upgraded to the PSC hydro steering upgrade kit from AEV, which basically is a bigger steering box, has a RAM in there. So you're basically converting to hydrostatic steering because these 40's are not easy to move.
Yeah,
I didn't drive it with the factory kind of steering setup, but I'm sure you would have to muscle this thing around. But
yeah, this is not the kind of setup you would want to use with a stock steering box.
No, you're going to break something. So I think if you're running 40's, that power steering upgrade is a must for anyone. Just makes living with the truck so much easier. You don't have to worry about, steering just feels really nice. It's a really nice weight to it. It's not too light. I hate when modern vehicles have really light steering. I kind of like the more weighted input. That's my preference. So continuing with the AEV theme of this build, we went with AEV's HD Front Bumper on this truck. I think it's definitely one of the best looking bumpers out there. Being AEV, it's super well engineered. Kind of everything's thought out.
Yeah, it's more of a OEM plus option. For how big it is, it looks like it came on this truck.
Yeah, it looks proper. And since they do design around a big size truck, they kind of make the allocation there to fit a large winch in there. So we put a come up 16,500 pound winch, which I think might be the biggest winch they make.
Yeah.
With a big truck like this, you're going to want to have that extra pulling power, and AEV is nice enough to kind of make room for us to fit that big of a winch in here.
Yep, and it's nice that this bumper still has the factory radar and park sense is available. You're still keeping all of that front end crash protection or lane detection, all that kind of stuff. Another cool feature with this being such a big truck is that they actually have a intercooler shroud for this front bumper. So it's just neat that AEV thought about that and made sure that you're still getting proper airflow so that the truck stays at proper operating temperature. Up front, we've got a Baja Designs S8 light bar. I believe it's a 40-inch, and it looks right at home.
Yeah, it looks good up there. Most people are doing kind of round lights up front on the tubular bar mount, but I really like the look of the light bar. It's a little more low-key, not as big and kind of in your face as the big round lights.
Yeah, I know that most of the Prospectors come with those big round lights up front, and while it does accent the truck well, I do kind of like still being able to see the full front grille and just have a tiny little light bar down at the front. I think it complements the bumper well.
Yeah, agreed.
In tow with that Baja Designs light bar we have down there, we also have the XL Pro ditch lights, which are a first for me. I've actually never seen these put on a vehicle before. They're massive, but with how big this truck is, they look right at home.
Yeah, usually we're not using these as ditch lights, but that's usually people's main kind of off-road light. But with a truck this big, you kind of got to scale everything up. And I think they look proper on there. If we would have put the normal Squadrons on there, they would have looked puny. Like they would have totally been lost in the silhouette of the truck.
Yeah, agreed. So I must say, coming from a guy who drives Fords, enjoys Fords, this Ram is something else. This is a lot of fun to drive around down the trails we were just on, around town. It really turns heads. It sounds great. It is one of the best sounding diesel trucks I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're looking to get something built up like this, be sure to reach out to us over at Mainline Overland because we love doing builds like this.
Yeah, we always get super excited when we get a big Ram build, big Ford build, something like this. Because honestly, we see the Tacomas, we see the 4Runners pretty much every day. And it's cool to see something big like this, something different. When all the customers come in, we give them a tour of our shop. They're always super pumped to see something like this. And seeing them on video is one thing, but to see it up in person, see how big the 40's are, like it's insane how big they are.
It is insane. So once again, thanks for watching another video from Mainline Overland. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
See y'all.